To please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, on all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward. Don't forget the oppressed. And when you go to sleep at night.
بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على أشرف الخلق نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع سنته إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again to A Time to Please Allah, your weekly Islamic chat show coming to you live from Dubai here on Huda TV. As always, I'm your host Ismail Bullock, and today I have with me in the place of Gabriel Al-Romaani, again, we can't get enough of him these days, brother Nabil Aziz.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Jazakumullah khair for having me.
Okay.
I hope you're not sick of me. So, yeah, it's the
No,
third week
mashallah, you have the biggest smile of all of our guests. So.
third week in a row now. MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
Oh, that's why we've lost a lot of viewership. No, just astaghfirullah.
I think didn't your viewership increase though since I've been
Possibly,
on?
maybe,
Yeah.
mashallah, maybe. I really don't know.
It's the nur from my beard.
Okay, that's a disclaimer I think we have to make there. So today we're gonna, inshallah, we're gonna look at a topic which we may have briefly or touched on subjects that possibly overlap, but not focusing completely on that. We've spoken about role models, we've spoken about youth, so no doubt there'll be some parts of this topic which will come in that, but we haven't discussed this topic as a whole, which is good companions or having good friends.
That's a really important topic because for the most part, our friends are the ones who have the most influence on us. Usually, even our family members, they don't have as much influence in our day-to-day lives and in the way we do things, in our perspectives, in our paradigms, in the decisions we make, and the habits we have. So this is an important topic, I think, that we have to sort of try to get a handle on and see what Islam says about it. Islam says something about everything. It's a complete deen, complete way of life. So anything under the sun, Islam has something to say about it, inshallah.
Now, I mean, what about you? I mean, from your personal experiences, I mean, you growing up, did you have good companions? And if not, did they have an effect on maybe how you may have lived your life earlier on?
Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember.
I didn't have any friends. No,
I had friends, yeah, I had friends, but I don't remember a lot of the friend. I guess that's maybe that doesn't mean that they're really friends, since I don't remember them. I don't remember. I'm not in touch with like people I knew from high school or from grade school or things like that. And that really I guess it shows you the reality of some of these relationships that we have, that they're fleeting and they're all basically just temporary, and most of the time that they are based on some sort of common interest and some sort of mutual benefit. It's very rare that you have a friendship that begins early on in life and then lasts throughout your life, isn't it? I don't know. Do you have any people from your childhood that you're still in touch with? I personally, I'm not in touch with anyone.
No, not really. I mean, there are some people that I'm still in touch with when I became Muslim, when I was around 14, 15. So there are some people that I'm in touch on and off. Some brothers, Muslim brothers when I first became Muslim, not necessarily the ones I became Muslim at school. I have not really in contact with any of those as such on a regular basis. But some of the ones who, about a year after becoming Muslim, they kind of guided me, you could say, which way to go, and helped me a lot. I'm in touch with some of those, but school friends, not really. A couple of them came in contact with me through Facebook, very limited.
After you got famous?
Well, I don't know about that, but funny enough, no. Before I actually before my Facebook page became a public page where it was just friends, I had them as friends. But yeah,
that's another important point as well. Because if you notice, you said that you related those relationships that you have, even though you're not that much, you're not so often in touch with them, or you maybe have light contact with them. That relationship continues for a specific reason. And then obviously that relationship continues for the sake of Allah, because you're bonded by something more than something more than what's temporal. You have some sort of spiritual bond that's keeping you, I guess, in touch, even though that you're not maybe in contact as much, isn't it? So that's really the basis of all relationships in Islam.
You kind of reminded me of something, which is on the topic and off the topic. A lot of the time we want to get good companions, we have to find those kind of arenas where we can meet good people. And here in Dubai, for example, we have to get together at certain Islamic centers or Islamic activities where a lot of time we find and make new friends that we sometimes stay in contact with, that will have a positive effect on us and our iman. And we know that obviously you're involved in. We have the Kalima Center, and I believe next weekend. Is it next weekend? Or
yeah. So we have a weekend seminar coming up next weekend. It's called Treasures from Kitab al-Iman, and basically the instructor is going to be going over selected ahadith from Kitab al-Iman in Sahih Muslim.
And obviously the instructor is Brother Muhammad Tim Humble, which many of the Huda viewers would have seen his show Do Your Part, which is one of the shows that they've shown on Huda TV. So many will be familiar with him, and many of our viewers live in Dubai and in the UAE.
Yeah.
So if they want to benefit from this course, can you give us a bit? How long is it? What will it cover? Is there a fee? Where will it take place? Who can attend?
Okay, so the event is open to all of our brothers and sisters in the UAE. If you would like to register for the course, you would just go to www.kalimah.org. That's KALEMAH.org, and you would register. And at the moment, we have an early bird discount that's going on. It's going to be over in a couple of days, basically by the end of Saturday. And also we have a very large group discount going on for two or more people or families that want to attend. The course is basically a 2-day weekend seminar from morning until Maghrib, and basically it's going to be in an academic format. It's a bit more intense. It's not a really relaxed topic where you come and have a good time. Well, you're supposed to have a good time, inshallah. You'll be gathered with your Muslim brothers and sisters. You'll be meeting people that you haven't met before. You'll be 2 days. You'll be together for the sake of Allah, seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah, gathering together for the sake of Allah, and eating, interacting with each other, interacting with the speaker, all for the sake of Allah. So it's a really, really good experience, and a lot of people, for me personally, I can say from my personal experience, and even maybe my wife's personal experience, that the Kalima weekend seminars changed our lives, basically. I know the Muslim that I was before the first Kalima seminar that I attended, and I know the Muslim that I am now, and there's like an exponential difference, and I could probably say the same of my wife as well.
Okay, we have a phone call. I didn't quite catch the name, but we have a phone call all the way from the USA.
Yeah, his name is Yunus.
Yunus.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, can't complain. So what would you like to contribute to today's show, inshallah?
Yeah, I have two questions regarding my job. The question number one, I'm working in a high-end fashion retail company, and one of the requirements of my job, I have to sign up the clients for the credit card, and most of this credit card is based on interest. So, and then number two, most of the clients that I work with, they're not work best, so that you can see through. So, is this job halal, or what's the Islam says about this job?
Okay, inshallah. Well, I mean, we're not really a question and answers show as such. I mean, we have on Huda TV Ask Huda with Sheikh Dr. Muhammad Salah, who would be more suitable for that question. I mean, especially for the whole aspect of, you take payments by credit card. I mean, to my knowledge, Allah knows best, is if you're just working there taking payments, it's irrelevant on how the customer pays. That's between they are handing the riba. You can't say, I'm not going to take your payment because you're using a credit card, to my knowledge. And even the second part, I mean, again, we would say that any job where you're in an environment where women aren't dressed properly, people are doing any kind of sin, then you must do your best to leave that job as soon as you can. But for a better and more knowledgeable and scholarly answer, definitely you should you should call during or email during the Ask Huda TV show, inshallah, for a more qualified answer, inshallah.
Yeah, I would also say that the brother should maybe speak to a local imam or somebody of a person of knowledge in his local vicinity who knows the environment and he knows the specific store that the brother works at, inshallah, so that he can get a better idea of exactly what goes on at the store, because that might give them a more tangible answer. Because I mean, Sheikh Muhammad Salah is amazing, subhanallah, very knowledgeable. But sometimes you need people who are on the ground and in the environment, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, jazakallah for that. At least the brother, mashallah, made the effort to call all this way from the USA.
So there's options. He can get in touch with Huda. He can ask somebody else who has knowledge, inshallah. I
think sometimes also some people they try to call or try to contact people that they maybe trust. Maybe the brother has a regular view of Huda, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he knows imams, but he feels that Huda is more of a reliable source, so he feels more comfortable contacting Huda, I would imagine. Otherwise, why would you make a phone call across all the way over to Huda TV?
Inshallah.
So where did we leave off?
We were talking about our weekend.
The Kalima. I mean, I can personally I mean, I've attended. Actually, I couldn't attend many of the weekend seminars because I used to work. Inshallah, I'll be attending this one, at least a day and a half of it. But I remember when I took part as a speaker for the New Muslim Summit.
You forgot already.
Yeah, but that was because there was a couple. I took part also on another New Muslim forum, right? So I got a bit confused between the names. But that was very uplifting, even for us as speakers. Was very. I mean, you were there as well. A very nice environment. All the brothers and sisters, and very, very nice. It was a 2-day event, and we definitely, even us as speakers, we all felt so down afterwards. Like, oh, if only this could go on for like forever, kind of thing. So definitely the events are good, and like I said, we have so many viewers here in Dubai, and we're talking about companionship, and this is a perfect chance to get to know people. I met many new brothers that I didn't even know from Kalima, who are involved behind the scenes or are part of the committee or whatever that I never met before. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and other brothers of like Abdullah Shetty, we had as a guest here, but there were so many brothers that I hadn't necessarily met, and so many other brothers who came. We became friends and cracking jokes, and we may be in contact now and again via Facebooks just because of that particular event. And even some of the speakers, I became good friends with people like Muhammad Tim Humble, Brother Abu Mus'ab, became really good friends with him, and I didn't even know him before. So even this is all companionship as such, because even us as so-called da'is or speakers, when we contact another speaker, we hopefully we should also be encouraging each other. You see what I mean? Like this is a way of keeping ourselves in good companionship, because everyone's human. If we don't also have good companionships, no matter who you are, you will also start to, slip away.
And I guess it's also a function of it's a function of your sort of mindset. Now, if you want to find good friends, okay, as Muslims, we're supposed to have.
Okay, we have another phone call.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
Sayyid from Dubai. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. I just turned the TV on and I heard that there will be some conference or a seminar which is going. I just wanted to know more about that and where it's happening and how can we attend that. Maybe you would have told, but I've just turned on the TV. So.
No problem. I'll get Brother Nabil, because Brother Nabil is involved in that center, so he will give you a quick brief, inshallah, on the event.
I already mentioned it, brother, so I'm just going to give you the website real quick that you can go to and get all the details. It's www.kalima.org. That's Kilo Alpha Lima Echo Mike Alpha Hotel.org. www.kalima.org. The weekend seminar is called Treasures from Kitab al-Iman. It's being hosted by Brother Muhammad Tim Humble, who is a graduate of Medina University from the Faculty of Hadith, and he has memorized the 6 Sahih books of Hadith, and he has ijaza in those books, so that he knows Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abi Dawood, Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Sunan al-Nasa'i, and Muwatta al-Imam Malik. So if you just go to the website, brother, you get all the details, inshallah. We look forward to having you with us, inshallah, next weekend, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
And bring your family as well and your friends, because there's a very large group discount that
And
you
they
can
even
get.
have a children's play area as well, don't they, for young children? Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. There's going to be an area for kids, inshallah. Back to our topic, inshallah.
Yes.
What I was saying was that basically, if you want to meet certain kinds of people, you would go to those places where those kinds of people gather. Now, as a Muslim, if we wanted to meet other Muslims who are of a certain mindset, I mean, if we wanted to be better Muslims, we would want to surround ourselves with Muslims who are practicing, who maybe know more than us, who are more secure in their Islamic identity. Yeah, and basically we would go to those places. Now, instead of going and hanging out at the malls, at the parks and stuff like that, where you might see stuff and hear stuff and do stuff that you're not really supposed to be doing, or it's not the best thing that you want to do, you would go to the Islamic centers, you would go to the masajid, you would go to the halaqat, you would try to organize gatherings at home, which is for beneficial knowledge and beneficial content and beneficial activities, inshallah. And I think we have to take a break.
We do have to go for a break. So inshallah, join us back after the break.
A chance to gain reward I will spend on you, he says.
We can't just take knowledge and keep it as information. We have to transfer it into action. When he got up, he said one thing. Asalla nas? Did the people pray? In Hajj, for example, the primary example of how multiculturalism really looks like. All equal. I've got a dentist in Canada. even though he's ripping holes in my teeth, he's got great akhlaq. I love visiting him. Identify the issue. Analyze it. Challenge it. And then try again. Because if you fail, big deal. Try again and keep trying.
If I think I lost my ablution, but I'm not sure, do I have to make wudu again? Is it allowed for Muslims to visit the graveyard, or is that shirk? Am I allowed to say Jummah Mubarak to someone? Can I get to know a sister before marriage? I have so many questions, and I feel that I've just reached a dead end. If only I could find someone trustworthy to answer my questions. Someone who speaks based on proof from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, on all who spending gold.
Okay, so we're back. Yeah, we're back. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Brother Ayari is with us. Welcome back, brother.
Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. How you doing?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
Our host, well, our guest with the most, not host with the most. You're the host with the most.
Okay, if you say so.
The most fair skin today, actually. We got you outnumbered.
I'm definitely the most in that department.
Mashallah.
Yeah. So, we were just talking about what it means to actually have companions in Islam. We just started talking about the types of companions that are, beneficial, and how we would go about seeking those companions. Now, I know, you're a teacher, so you see, you have like practical, first-hand, visual experience of the effects of, I guess, good companionship and probably the effects of bad companionship as well. I mean, you have to deal with this on a daily basis. So let us know, brother. What's the score?
Well, basically, friendships, you can look at them in three different ways. You have a friend that befriends you because he's going to get some kind of benefit, whether it's monetary or position. He can get wasta or something like this. You have the friend that benefits you because they're just there to have fun. They just want to laugh, party, that's it. Then you have the friend that's a friend with you for a benefit, but that benefit is going to be for the afterlife, for the religion, not necessarily that this guy, he's rich, so let me be with him so I can, maybe get a free pizza every once in a while.
Or take a ride in his Lamborghini.
Yeah, these kind of things. And the interesting thing about that is, for the first type, a person who's friends with you for that monetary gain, once that aspect of your life is gone, so is he. Once your money runs out, he's not with you anymore. Once the gas money is gone, he's not with you anymore. You crash the car, no more car, he's not with you. He doesn't have any need for you. The other guy that is with you, just to have a laugh, to have fun, to party, if something happens to you where you're not able to do that anymore, he's not with you either, or she. If you're not able to maybe perhaps the person gets serious. They get older, and you find that this person no longer wants to be with you, so that friendship ends. However, the person that's with you because they are seeking the afterlife, and the two of you are kind of, helping each other progress towards that, that's the kind of friend that most likely is going to stick with you. No matter what happens, whether you lose money or you gain money, that person is, going to be with you. So from my perspective, I see that a lot. I see a lot of students who they gather due to certain common interests. And, sometimes the sad thing is you watch them as they grow. As those interests change, you see different groups of friendships start forming based on new interests. Whether it's, football teams or sports, maybe some people are into lifting weights like I am, or playing basketball or these kind of things, they start to separate. But those who, have a religious outlook, you see that those guys pretty much stay the same. They stay with each other. You have a group, like I see, students like this who are into memorizing the Quran. They have a goal. They're like, yeah, let's memorize, let's finish it. And those guys stick together. Or just in general, maybe their goal is not to memorize the Quran, but they're just trying to be good Muslims or good people. And so you see these ones, they stay together. They don't, just, split up for the flimsiest of reasons. Mashallah. Outside of that, within the school, you see a lot of the influence. Sometimes it might be from bad parenting, unfortunately, or maybe somebody's watching bad television shows or music or some of those things, and they bring those things into the school. And those kind of things also have an effect on students. So you see people, the guy who knows all the latest music or whatever, people think he's cool, and, they start gravitating towards this individual, and he starts, introducing more and more corrupt values to the students. And you also see the flip side. You also see sometimes, like I've personally seen this, and this was, to me, it affected me greatly. I was teaching in a particular school, and it was very affluent, and a lot of the students had very bad mannerisms, and they were into some very dangerous negative things. And one student, for some reason, I never found out why, one student decided that prayer is extremely important. This was the guy before that would be, always raise his hand bothering me about, rappers, because he thinks I'm American, so I must be into it also. And, so he'll be raising his hand, teacher, do you know so-and-so? Do you do that? And I'm like, come on, let's just stay with the lesson. And just out of the blue, the kid just says, prayer is important. So when he would hear the adhan, he'd be like, okay, teacher, let's go pray. And I'm shocked. I'm like, well, we have class here. He's like, no, we got to pray. And he would start encouraging his other friends. We have to pray. You can't abandon the prayer. You have to pray. And after some time, his friends followed him. The ones who were into all these crazy things, they slowly abandoned them, and they began to pray. And, these guys are now in university, and they've stuck with it, mashallah. Yeah.
I mean, that reminds me, there's an Arabic saying they say, as-sahib yashab, the companion pulls you, meaning like he'll take you. I mean, we know, maybe you're going to touch upon that, but we know that famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said, al-mar'u ala dini khalili fayanzur ahadukum man yukhalil. That the man is on the religion or the way of life as his companion, his friend. So let you look at who you take as a friend.
Yes. I mean, this is, even for us adults, this is very important. I caught a little bit of what you were saying about if you're trying to practice more, then you would congregate in those areas where you would, find people who are of the same mindset. Even as an adult, I'm sure that we see this. If you head to the masajid or head to the halaqat or whatever Islamic center, you will feel more inclined to be more like those people. The more that you go, the more interest you take in those kind of things, you would see that it starts to have an effect on you. You may start changing aspects of your dress or start adopting some mannerisms. Like, for instance, saying like things like, inshallah, You know, maybe for some people this wasn't something that was common to them. But once they started getting in these circles and they hear people saying inshallah, mashallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, rather than cursing or something like that, you see that, okay, that starts to have an effect on the individual also. So rather than, you know, screaming out wow or something like this, mashallah, you start to see that, you know, companionship, good companionship even has an effect, of course, on adults. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing.
And I wonder if you could touch upon the effect of, for example, peer pressure or strong characters when you have your companions, because sometimes we would have a kid, you know, who is maybe, he's not, you wouldn't say weak character, but he's more prone to being influenced by somebody. Yes, going with the flow. And you might have another kid who is who's of a strong character. He's confident, and he sort of makes the flow, you know.
Right.
And there's another hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I won't. I don't have it memorized, but basically he says, don't be a person who just, you know, who's a sheep, basically. Just goes with the flow. If the people are good, you're good. If the people are bad, you're bad. Yeah. So how do we sort of get our kids into that mindset where they know who they are, yeah, and they're sort of protected from this sort of peer pressure and other strong characters who might lead them in the wrong way?
Right. Well, that, from my experience, what I've seen, is a difficult situation. When you have the kid that is more of a go with the flow, he's not very assertive, he's shy, he wants to hide in the background, that's a very difficult situation to deal with. The most successful situations I've seen is when the parent recognizes this type of characteristic in their child, and they inform the teachers that, listen, my child is this way. If you see him moving this way or that way, talk to him, encourage him. Or another great strategy I've seen from parents, they will ask, because the teacher's in the classroom all the time and knows the students, the parents will ask, who is he around? How are their manners? They will ask, who do you think would be a good fit for my son? Is there any way you can try to sit them with these individuals? So it's really up to the parent, number one, to recognize that either the child has the weak characteristic and, you know, will go with the flow, or that conversely you have the kid who's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very confident, extremely confident, in that anything he does, people will go with him, whether he's correct or incorrect. So even in that case, the parents should be aware that this could turn out to be a dangerous thing. That, you know, maybe the parent sees at home the kid is great, but at school he's doing something else and could be leading others astray. So the parents would have to definitely ask what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in the hallways, what's going on in the playground. And then when they see that, okay, my son is leading others astray, that they fix the issue. You know, that they talk to the child, that, listen, you know, don't be the cause of other people, you know, becoming bad. Or conversely, if the kid has that strong characteristics, he has a strong personality, but he's leading his friends to something good, then they should encourage that. They should definitely encourage that. You have those kids who, they always wanted to be imam. You know, they always want to be the person when it's time to recite Quran, they want to go ahead and do it. Not to show off, but this is what's in them. This is what they enjoy doing. So, you know, parents should foster that. The community should foster that. Everybody around should foster that type of characteristic. And for the one that is, you know, a little bit weak or less assertive, people should try to give him confidence. You know, whatever way it is that you do it, you know, do it positively so that this child can see himself in a more assertive light and not be so submissive to other people to doing the negative things.
I think another issue is, and it's really important that you mentioned that how important the role the parents play. And I think another issue is that it's really the parents' responsibility to teach the kids basically those deeds of the heart that a Muslim is responsible for. So I mean, you'd have examples of the Prophet ﷺ teaching young children about really deep matters of the relationship between them and Allah. I've got this hadith here. It's narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, that one day I was behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said to me, "Young man." Now he was basically maybe a preteen, or he was just a young teenager at that time. He says, "Young man, I shall teach you some words of advice. Be mindful of Allah, and Allah will protect you. Be mindful of Allah, and you will find Him in front of you. If you ask, ask of Allah. If you seek help of Allah." Now, know that if the nation were to gather together to benefit you with anything, it would benefit you only with something that Allah had already prescribed for you. And that if they gathered together to harm you with anything, they would harm you only with something that Allah had already prescribed for you. The pens have been lifted and the pages have been have dried. Now this is some really deep spiritual concepts that he's teaching a child, basically. And if you can imagine, if all of our kids would sort of internalize these concepts, I think they'd be basically impervious to any sort of peer pressure that sort of tries to push them away from the path that they're supposed to be on. And maybe you could add some there as well.
Another perspective on that would be that to look at the example of our Prophet ﷺ, that he didn't say, "Oh, this guy's a teenager," or "He's a this, he's a that." He gave him what he felt he needed. And our Prophet, he alayhi salam, we have the term Sahaba, his companions also. I mean, that's really important, that he cared for the well-being of those individuals. He actually cared for their well-being, not just in this life, but for the goal, which is the afterlife. And when people define friendship, they say friendship is a feeling of mutual care for individuals. Well, I mean, the best type of friendship that we can imagine is that which we saw our Prophet exemplifying with his companions. And with this, even though he said "Ya ghulam," child, these things were heavy and they're important, and we're reading them today and we're actualizing them today. The Prophet ﷺ, he gave this child this information and knew that this child could handle it.
I'm going to stop you right there. We have a phone call, brother Abu Sufyan from Kuwait. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abu Sufyan. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
I have a question. I don't know if it is relevant or not. My son-in-law, he is a revert, alhamdulillah, about 6 years back. Okay. So, his mother, she is not yet accepted Islam. May Allah give her, guide her to accept Islam. So, she is a very nice lady. But what she believes that if you are good, that is enough. That's all, finished. And she doesn't want to talk on anything, and she doesn't respond on any, if you tell them or ask her something. So my question is how to give dawah to this kind of person who is very non-responsive and doesn't want to talk at all on this topic and simply believe that if you are good, that is enough. How to give dawah to this kind of person? How to open a dialogue with? If you can shed some light on this.
I think Brother Ismail can maybe give us a decent enough answer, inshallah. So.
Inshallah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah
khair. That's a difficult one because there are people like that. I mean, if the person is really at that kind of level where they refuse to have any kind of conversation, they say, "Don't speak to me, I'm not interested," then you can try and give them a book. Maybe, you'll be surprised. Some people in front of other people are very stubborn, but when you give them a book, they tend to go home and they say, "Well, no one can. No, I'll just have a look," and that can be the turning point. Also, what they can do is they can be in a family gathering, and the mother-in-law could be here. I think it's the mother or his mother could be here, and her son, and somebody else can be there, and they can mention a statement of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or a verse from the Quran about something that's relevant. They could have been reading a news article and there was something in the news and they said, "Oh, did you know the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said this?" Or, "Did you know in the Quran it teaches this?" So the person has to listen to that. They have no choice. They're in the gathering together. So you can bring in different things like that. If you can't give, like you said, a proper dialogue, then they have to do the very minimum. Try and give reading material. That's not possible. At the same time, or instead of that, just bring these statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about Islam during everyday conversation, whatever's possible. And another part would be his behavior. If he has changed since he became Muslim and become a better person, even if the person was a very good person, it's almost impossible, inshallah, if they're practicing Islam, not to become an even better person. Because like I know some very good character non-Muslims, and when they became Muslim, they became even better. And or even if they're non-Muslims with great character, there's always something where they may be slightly disrespectful to their parents now and again, or they make inappropriate jokes, thinking it's just a joke. But when they become a Muslim, you'll find another Muslim, they would never make these kind of jokes to their parents because they think it's disrespectful. So there's many ways that you can bring it in by conversation, by the person's actions. That alone is dawah in itself. I mean, in a nutshell. And maybe the brothers have some other points. I mean, Brother Iyadi himself.
I think that what you mentioned, especially the latter part about the character, that's one that I've seen that is very, very important. That perhaps the person does not accept Islam because it's not it's not up to us whether somebody accepts Islam or not. But you could do something to try to make one less enemy of the Muslims. So by exemplifying good character, being good to the person, increasing in your good deeds, they can see that, okay, well, there's nothing bad about these people and what they believe. So at least that way you can make one less enemy, or you can clear up some doubts that the person has, at a minimum.
I mean, what's also important is the brother mentioned the fact about the whole, which is a very common thing, which of course Islam teaches that in great detail, being kind to your fellow human, being a good person, having good manners, being kind to animals, women. I mean, most of these so-called, animal shelters and orphanages and all these kind of things you see were unheard of until Islam anyway.
Yes.
And a lot of them come from the Muslims and places like the Islamic Europe, where all these kind of the first hospital, you find in the Islamic civilizations, the first schools, the first hospitals, universities, so many things came from the Muslims. But what's important, you can also say to the person is, yes, of course, you should be a good person, but be good to people. But if you should be good to people, shouldn't you, and make sure you have good relations with people, what about the being that created all of these people?
Yeah.
And made everything? Surely they deserve more than the human, more than the animal, the right respects and rights given to them. And I think we actually have to go for the second break now. So inshallah, join us for the final part of the show after this break.
A chance to gain reward I will spend on you, he says.
يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا حي يا قيوم لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين اللهم أحسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر.
We try to recap what we do here at Huda TV for the past week, and we try to share with you some of the latest news that is happening behind the scenes here at the station.
Living Islam.
would love a cooking show to be aired for Arabic dishes. Also, more programs for children regarding manners. We want to go ahead and take a look at our YouTube page right now and see how it looks as it stands. Well, I'm on the screen right now, but I'm not on TV. I'm actually through YouTube, as you can see right there. It's the same exact thing that you see on TV here live. It's exactly the same thing that is on our YouTube page through our live streaming. A great way to stay in touch with us.
My first time to call Huda TV, but I like it too much.
Because there is no program in Huda TV that it is not important for our Muslims, inshallah.
Time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back from the break. Where did we leave off? I'm terrible today. I'm just daydreaming. What was the last point?
We were still answering that question. About
we finished off about how to give da'wah to that kind of person. But I think, didn't we move on from that?
No, we didn't actually. I would just add really one quick thing onto that, and then we could go ahead back to our topic. I would say that as much time, this is what was mentioned to us by one of our teachers. He said to us, as much time as you spend giving da'wah to somebody like this, you should spend twice as much time making dua for that person, that Allah guides them, because ultimately it's in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. Yeah. So back to companions and peer pressure and good friends and bad friends.
This issue of peer pressure, it can be good and bad. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of very sad cases in the news about kids being bullied or peer pressure leading people to do really ridiculous things. The bullying stuff and people eventually committing suicide, or even you see that people living unhappy lives because they remember something that happened when they were a child because of bad friendship, or unfortunately some people living for the rest of their life, maybe in prison or ended up dead because of a poor choice they made with friends. I had a friend that mentioned that, this is not scientific, of course, but he said that perhaps what's going on now is that our children are they're just not as strong-willed as they were in the past. And this could very well be true. I don't have statistics, I don't have any of those things, but just looking at, how things are moving, when I was a kid, if somebody called you a name, it's either, you dealt with it, you cried, and the next day you got over, but today, it seems like these things are having a more tremendous effect on the children, and their reactions are becoming much more drastic. So, as Muslims, definitely we should be paying attention to what's going on, not just in our households, but in the world, because this issue of peer pressure and, bullying and all these kind of things, bad companionship, all this stuff is really important. It not only just ties to the family, but, another way to look at it is that it helps that individual. It helps that individual become a stronger person. If you have a strong person, then the family will be stronger, and then stronger families eventually lead to a stronger society. And that should be the ultimate goal. We want to have strong societies that are progressive, we're religious, and we're successful. But we can't do it, if, our progeny are just not up to the task. So definitely, we have these conversations, but ultimately, and even, from my vantage point as a teacher, ultimately, I have some scope of influence. But really, the biggest proportion of this matter is going to come from the home, from the parents. The parents have to be the ones to say, these are the kind of friends you want to have, to monitor the friends, to, if they see that, a friend is having a bad influence on their child, the parent, if they see their child cannot cut this person off, the parent needs to be the one to do it. No more going over to so-and-so's house. If you're calling him, give me the phone. No more phone.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of the time is a lot of these friends, like you mentioned, they're at school, and in reality the child spend more time with these people than they do in their own home. So what do you do in that? What can you do in the kind of situation where their kids initially maybe became a certain, or have gone down a certain way, or are doing certain things because of someone at school?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the perceptive parent is the biggest issue here. So I've seen cases, one particular case where a mother saw some changes in her son. So she came to the school and started meeting with the teachers and asking questions. So come to find out, she mentioned some names. And one after the other, all the teachers said, don't let your son be friends with so-and-so. Not just the English teacher or the science teacher or the Islamic studies teachers, pretty much, down the board. So again, I mean, sometimes there may be very little you can do, but the parents have to be there. The parents have to look and to be observant and to notice these changes and then do everything that they can to deal with it. Sometimes there may be very little a parent can do, like when the child becomes 18 or 17. Sometimes the kid is just, what we call a knucklehead. The kid is just, he doesn't want to hear, he doesn't want to listen, and he does his own thing. And in that case, you try your best, and you make dua. You make dua that Allah changes the heart of that individual, of that child, and you keep giving him advice.
I think also one of the really important things is I want to sort of bring this subject back again to this matter of tawheed and nurturing this relationship of the children with Allah. I think that in their normative years, if the parents really spend a lot of time preparing that child's heart and his relationship with Allah, when it comes time to those years where, in the normative years, the child is a little more pliable, more flexible, more obedient, and for them, that the parent is the example, and the parent is the one to follow, and they want to make their parents happy. But during the formative years, in adolescence and young adulthood, that's when they start getting their own sort of like a will of their own, and they have their paradigms start forming, their own way of doing things.
Right.
So I mean, I guess it's the parent's responsibility to set that kid's character in the way that is going to be productive for when that will sort of switches on during the formative years. Because at that point, basically, I mean, they're adults now. They need to be ready to function as fully functioning adults. The problem is that the parents of today are treating their children. We're saying children, but they're adults now, like children until they're in their mid-20s and their 30s. Whereas if you look through history, look at the Sahaba, even look after the Sahaba. I mean, people were leading armies when they were 17, and look at the way the elder Sahaba and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam used to treat the younger companions. Like there was no sort of how we have it in schools now, where everybody's separated according to their age group. Yeah. Everybody was with everybody. The elder Sahaba were complaining to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, why is this kid Abdullah ibn Abbas in our gathering? What's this little kid doing here? And then he asked him a question on tafsir, and they gave the wrong answer, and Abdullah ibn Abbas gave the right answer. He said, this is why this kid is with us. So I mean, that's how we want our to sort of change our society to be in that way, where we're not really looking at artificial sort of boundaries of age, and okay, you're this age, so that means you're only fit for this sort of activity, and you're supposed to play in this sort of way, hang out with these kinds of people, and you should be interested in these things. Okay, now you're a little bit older, so you can do older kid stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ties into a personal belief I have that this concept of being a teenager, I think it's I don't know if I really buy into this teenage thing, because if you look in the media, it seems like they're always trying to promote that if you're a teenager, it's okay to be irresponsible, be wild and foolish, and hopefully, if it doesn't go too bad, then when you get older, you can clean it up and live your life. I don't know if I buy too much into the whole teenage thing, and I don't think that we should support it either. Okay, yes, we know that technically it does exist, that you're a teen, but the kind of behavior, and this is the age where you see the most profound effect of having good or bad companionship. This is what I've noticed, between 13 and 20, this age, the friends can either make or break the individual. So I don't know that we should, not that I really don't believe that we should buy into what the world media is pushing about. It's okay, go out and be wild with your friends, and no, I don't think so. We should encourage, our kids, and like you mentioned, from a young age. We should try to start nurturing them from a young age. Bringing other like families, and putting the kids together and showing them this is how you nurture friendship. Not waiting till they're in the 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and all of a sudden now it's you're trying to do something. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
I mean, and that point about the teenage sort of paradigm. I mean, is there any greater responsibility than becoming responsible toward Allah?
SubhanAllah.
And when does that happen? When the kid hits puberty.
Yes.
And when is that? That's when they're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. All of their responsibilities, towards Allah, their major responsibilities, kicking as soon as they hit puberty. So is there any greater responsibility than their responsibility towards Allah? So why do we have this sort of artificial we set these artificial boundaries? Okay, from this age to this age, you're a kid, but you're also older, and you're sort of like an adult, so you get to do a little bit more adult stuff, and you can sort of make your own decisions, but you don't really have to take responsibility for them, because you're a kid. Yeah, you're a kid, so you can make your mistakes, and nobody will hold you accountable for it. But as Muslims, that's not how it works. We know that from the moment you're an adult, you're an adult.
You're an adult.
Exactly.
You need to start praying. You need to, take the fast into consideration, all those kind of things. SubhanAllah.
Anyway, mashallah, all good things come to an end. And we're at the end of today's show. So jazakallah khair for coming back on. Alhamdulillah, we touched on some very important topics. And jazakallah khair again for our guest host, Brother Nabil Aziz.
Wa iyaakum.
And inshallah, we'll be here back at the same time, same place here on Huda TV. And leave you as always with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A time to please Allah, a chance to gain reward. I will spend on you, he says, all who spend in good cause. Good deeds are opportunities, sparkling bright and true, raising you in the sight of Allah and adorning Al-Jannah for you. So rush to earn his reward, don't forget.